What's going on, everyone? Welcome to our Saturday episode where we're going to go over some of the top action from Friday night, some storylines that really caught my attention, and then we'll also preview a few of the games I'm going to be tuning into tonight that I think you should too. Now, the first guy who immediately stood out to me was Oregon State's Dax Whitney, who went 7 innings in their 3-1 win over Baylor. In those 7 innings, he tied a program record 17 punch-outs, while only allowing 2 hits and 1 walk. Now, he has a fastball that'll routinely sit 98 and easily reach hundreds, and he pairs that with a sharp cutter and fading changeup, both around 88 miles an hour. And then he also has a big curveball that he only used 4 times, but he threw it for 75% strikes. So definitely an added weapon to his arsenal for when he needs it. I have no clue how this guy is pitching at the college level, but I am so glad he is, because this easily is an arm that has the talent to be in the upper end of the minor leagues or competing in the major leagues, to be honest with you. Last season as a freshman, he made 17 starts while holding a 3.4 ERA and collecting 120 strikeouts, which most guys don't get to 120 strikeouts in their career. So insane to do that in 1 year, but he's just got endless swagger on the mound. Like, he just makes it look like he's doing a simple task when he's out there pitching. He just has this moxie to him that I think really helps him perform at such a high level. Now, Oregon State has one of the nastiest rotations in the nation. Behind Whitney, you have guys like Ethan Kleinschmidt and Eric Segura, obviously making this a really tough rotation to face. I would not want to be in the GDI conference this season. Now, another game that really stood out to me was TCU going on over to Los Angeles to take on UCLA. And UCLA won this game pretty handily, beating TCU 10-2. But this is a top 10 Omaha caliber matchup, in my opinion. TCU, they're currently on a 3-game skid. They looked phenomenal against Arkansas on opening weekend, and we just haven't really seen much of that team since. Now, this week it was learned that TCU's Tommy Laporte, their Friday night guy, who is an absolute stud for them all last season, is going to be out with an injury, and losing your Friday night guy is definitely going to throw the vibe off a lot, and you could tell the Horned Frogs were a bit off kilter. Now, Rock Chalowski was definitely someone who was on kilter for UCLA. Over the midweek against Tulane, he had a 2-home-run game, and he followed that up starting off their Friday game against TCU with another 2-home-run game, in which he had a solo shot and a grand slam. On the mound for the Bruins, Logan Redeman matched his career best 10 strikeout mark, while only allowing 1 run over 5 innings of work, working around 5 scattered hits and 1 walk, so he looked really crisp. And TCU, they have a lineup that's just super talented, and I really feel like this is still an Omaha caliber ball club. It's just a matter of when their bats are going to wake up, and I'm hoping for Horned Frog fans they'll wake up sooner rather than later. But UCLA, on the other hand, they really just showed why they're the number 1 ranked team in the game. I feel like this was a very complete game for them where, you have a pitcher who throws really well and then the offense just absolutely mashes. Now, another big thing about this game is that it was broadcast on FS1, which I love seeing these big-time matchups, but I love them even more when they're on national television for even more fans to get drawn into the game of college baseball. So that was definitely a sick one to see. Now, UNC ECU was a phenomenal matchup last night. UNC took this one 10-0 in an 8-inning run rule victory in the jungle. And on the mound, Jason DeCaro was just extremely crisp for Chapel Hill. He tossed an 8-inning complete game run rule shutout where he only allowed 5 hits and 1 walk, picking up 7 strikeouts and doing it all on 101 pitches. This dude was just super crisp. He was in the zone all night, and the defense behind him was equally crisp for him, which you love to see a defense picking up your pitcher like that. North Carolina, their bats just know how to manufacture runs. It's got to be an absolute dream for Coach Forbes, where it's like, hey, look, I'm going to put on this play, and then the team just absolutely executes it to perfection. Now, UNC, this has always kind of been the case for them, though. They're the type of team where they show up wearing their uniforms that are way cooler than yours, and they just kick everybody's ass. It's strictly business. It's been that way since I played them, and it'll be that way for a long time in the future, in my opinion. But they did all of this in front of ECU's crowd of over 6,000 people, which Being in the jungle, it's not an easy environment to play in. So definitely cool to see UNC walk away with that one. Now, Ethan Norby had a better outing than he had last weekend. He went 4 innings with 7 strikeouts, which is definitely a bright spot for the Pirates, because doing that against this lineup is not easily done. Now, this is just a reminder, this is the Divorced Parents Holiday Series, so Game 1 was in the jungle in Greenville. Game 2 will be at 2 p.m. in Durham. It won't be broadcast, which is kind of a bummer, because I was really excited to see how this one shakes out. I think ECU will respond pretty angry, pretty upset. And Game 3 will be in Chapel Hill, which will be streamed on ACC Extra. Now, a team that has my full undivided attention is the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They have a series against Stony Brook this weekend where they kicked it off with a doubleheader on Friday. And they have completed 6 straight games where they've scored double-digit runs. And they set a program record on Friday night with their win, where it broke the previous record of 5 straight games with double-digit runs, which has stood for over 39 years, which is insane. Now, since it was a doubleheader, they won the first game 14-5, and they took game 2 10-5. So the record was in a little bit of jeopardy there, but they were able to kind of push across the line. Across the doubleheader, the 2 standouts for Georgia Tech were really Von Lackey, who had 2 home runs, and then Carson Kersey went 5 for 6 with 2 doubles, a triple, and 3 runs scored, tallying a total of 5 RBIs on the day. As a team, they've put up 99 runs while only allowing 22, and this is an offense that, crazy as it may sound, they're still only on the cusp, scratching the surface of what they can do. Because when people think about Georgia Tech baseball, they're going to think about Drew Burress, and they're right to think so. That kid's absolutely sick. He's nasty at baseball. But I think this just really shows how deep their lineup really is, because I love Drew Burress, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have any home runs yet, which this is a guy who's going to hit a lot of home runs this season. This lineup's going to get even more dangerous, which it genuinely might end up killing a couple of people. So watch out for Georgia Tech. When the rankings first came out, I feel like every burner and non-ball knower out there was like, hey, this isn't a top 5 baseball team. And I think Georgia Tech took that pretty personally, and they're like, hey, no, we actually are, and we're going to pummel everyone else. Now, for my 3 games to watch today, obviously you're going to want to tune in to UCLA and TCU, but moving along, Dallas Baptist versus UTSA. This is one I'm super excited for. UTSA is currently 5-0, and they're chasing the best start to the season in team history if they can win one more. They won on Friday night 12-8, and I mentioned on my Thursday episode that this would be a really fun series to watch, and that was definitely true with Game 1. The Roadrunners jumped out to an early 6-0 start and just absolutely mashed to begin the game. Josh Arquette led the charge with 3 RBI. Pitching, it looked really crisp for the Roadrunners. Connor Kelly fanned 7 over 4.1 innings. And then Sam Simmons delivered 4.2 innings of relief, matching his career longest outing, only surrendering 1 run on a solo homer. But he worked around 7 hits, picking up 4 strikeouts while walking none. So just a really dominant outing out of him. Don't count DBU out, though, because this is a team that was certainly putting up a fight. You already know I'm a huge Jake Bennett fan, and that dude is going to come out swinging. I can just feel it. Ben Tryon had 4 RBI for the Patriots yesterday, so expect him to be a key contributor today. But you can watch UTSA chasing down the best start in program history, potentially, at 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Now, another game to watch today is going to be Kent State taking on Tennessee. Game 1 was one that certainly delivered. It was one I highlighted in the Thursday episode, and Kent State held Tennessee scoreless through the first 5 innings of this game, which I feel like that should count as a win in itself, just looking at this Tennessee offense. Kieran Coffey was great on the mound for the Golden Flashes. He tossed 4 shutout while only allowing 2 hits and collecting 4 strikeouts. But he's just a really fun dude to watch pitch. I really like watching the way he operates. He throws every pitch like he's got a massive chip on his shoulder and he's trying to prove something. And let me tell you, he proved a lot to me. On the other side of things, Tegan Kuhns was really good for the Vols. He went 5.2, just allowing 1 run while striking out 4 of his own. And then on the offensive side of things, Jay Abernathy hit a big 2-run home run to put the Vols up 3-1 late in this one, and then tied 3-3 in the bottom of the 9th. Tyler Myatt came in to pinch hit for Ariel Antigua, and he promptly deposited a home run over the batter's eye to walk things off and secure that 4-3 victory for Tennessee. Myatt has been just straight up phenomenal for the Vols this season. I would love to see him crack his way into the starting lineup, but also if he doesn't, it's still really fun to watch him just come off the bench and hit absolute tanks. Now, I've watched a lot of Kent State this season. They're definitely a really good team, so don't count them out just yet. Keep your eye on guys like Ripken Reese, Sawyer Solitaria, and Luke Matthews for the Golden Flashes, as I think they'll be real big difference makers in Game 2. Game 2 will be at 4 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch it on SEC Network Plus. Now, the next game I'm looking forward to tuning into is going to be UConn at Arizona, and this one, it's a really interesting one. Arizona was a preseason top 25 team, and they're currently 0-6 to start off the season. And I don't necessarily think they're a bad ball club. I just think they've run into a lot of bad luck. It seemed like all off-season long, every time they hired a pitching coach, that pitching coach was immediately offered a job in professional baseball, and they took that, which, I mean, nothing against them, don't get me wrong. It's just hard for pitchers to adjust where it's one guy going, okay, this is our pitch plan, this is going to be our build-up, this is how we're going to execute for this year. All right, I'm gone. And then you get another guy doing that and another guy doing that. It just gets a little bit confusing. And then right before the season started, a lot of bright spots around Arizona. One of the bright spots was unfortunately put out in closer Tony Pluta, who had an elbow injury that's going to take him out for the season. Now, they have super talented bats, and some of the new transfers that they brought in have loads of talent. They just really haven't clicked yet. On the mound, they have a lot of different pieces that can contribute, but they do have one of the top 1-2 punches in the nation in Owen Kramkowski and Smith Bailey. Kramkowski went 4 innings, picking up 6 strikeouts to kick off this series. And that was better than his opening weekend start where he went 3.1 innings, only picking up 2 strikeouts. But then tonight, I'm really excited to watch Smith Bailey on the mound for them. He has electric stuff, and the team's really going to need him to be a leader today and throughout the rest of the season if they want to make it as far as they're going to want to go. UConn, on the other side of things, they went into this series starting off on Thursday 0-4, and UConn has completely turned their season around. They now have 2 wins in this 4-game series. They're 2-4 on the season, on the looks to potentially go 3-4 by the end of tonight. Last night, Charlie West just looked phenomenal for the Huskies. He went 6.2 innings, only surrendering 3 hits and 2 walks while picking up 9 strikeouts. On the UConn bats side of things, some guys you're going to want to watch. You're going to want to tune into Maddox Delana, who has 6 RBIs on the series already. And then Jackson Marshall has 3 RBIs, making them responsible for 9 out of the 10 UConn runs scored this series. You can tune into this one at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus to see if the Wildcats will pick up their first win of the season. Now, I can't remember a time where we've had a top 25 team get off to this slow of a start, so I'm really excited to see things start clicking for Arizona and just see how they can turn this season around. Now, that's all we have for this episode. These matchups are obviously going to be really fun to watch, but make sure to come back tomorrow so I can update you on how they went while also letting you know if the Arizona Wildcats picked up their first win of the season. But I appreciate you tuning in as always. If you like college baseball, if you like me, or if you just really like this plant, feel free to hit subscribe. That way you can see it all week long. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and hope you enjoy some college baseball today.